What is a social or virtual identity? Does it really divide our real lives from our virtual ones? How do we create a virtual identity? How much privacy do we have on the web and in virtual worlds? Do we have any privacy at all? Is it possible to maintain anonymity in virtual worlds and the metaverse? Does the creation of an avatar and a virtual identity genuinely give us privacy and anonymity? All these questions and more will be answered in this video and podcast chapter of the 9 Pillars of the Metaverse, the definitive video and podcast series on the Metaverse. We are dividing this video on privacy, anonymity, social and virtual identity, which is part 3 in our 9 Pillars of the Metaverse series, into 2 chapters, due to the length of the material. This is the first video chapter. To avoid confusion, this is part 3, chapter 1, of the 9 Pillars of the Metaverse series. It is highly advised you watch the 2 video chapters in order, as the second chapter assumes information and knowledge presented in the first chapter. The podcast on this subject, available on all major podcast networks, was left in one continuous part and is not divided into chapters. Hi, I am Tara. That is not my real name, but the name I use in my wanderings through virtual worlds and the metaverse. I am a co-founder of If What If. Welcome to the If What If podcast channel. If What If, the company that combines virtual reality and artificial intelligence in education, consulting, courses and development. Our motto: dream it, imagine it, create it. The possibilities are endless. The entire series, The 9 Pillars of the Metaverse, is, or will be available, as the chapters are released, in video on YouTube and Vimeo, and in podcast format, on all the major podcast directories. To be fair to those who already know some of the fundamentals, our podcasts and videos are divided into chapters. So, if you feel you already know the information, you can skip to the chapter which interests you. However, we strongly advise you take the time to listen to the entire podcast, or watch the entire video. We promise you that you will learn a great deal. Now, If What If is proud to present our new educational video series, The 9 Pillars of the Metaverse. The following 3 minutes is part of the introduction to all the videos and podcasts in this series. If you have already seen or heard another part in the 9 Pillars of the Metaverse series, you can jump to the next marked chapter. Sometimes the chapter markers do not appear in the videos or podcasts, so we place them in the description as well. If you have not yet seen or heard the introduction, we strongly advise you to do so, at least once. These 9 pillars are limitless, perpetual, immersion, social identity, anonymity, privacy, economics, digital currencies, and no central authority. Without a clear understanding of what each pillar refers to and accomplishes, to do business or to interact with the metaverse can become incredibly confusing and a daunting process. We have gotten used to dealing with a multitude of social networks and messaging apps along with their likes, shares and subscribes. Now, new terms have emerged, and some old terms have taken on new meaning. Along with the catch-all phrase, metaverse, we also hear the terms virtual reality, augmented reality, extended reality, virtual worlds, and mixed reality. Then we add artificial intelligence into the mix, and the whole process seems overwhelming. As if this were not enough, once we got used to paying online in a secure manner and adopting systems like Apple Pay, Google Pay, and all the others, we now suddenly encounter cryptocurrencies, with over 100 different coins to choose from and a whole new system of securing our payments. And now we are approaching the new frontier of exchange known as non-fungible tokens, or NFT for short. NFTs are digital assets that represent ownership of media, often digital illustrations, profile pictures, or music. Is it any wonder then that many people do not even know where to begin? Or that all the new terminology is so confusing? In our first chapter of this series, we explained the metaverse and the first two pillars. These are limitless and perpetual. We devoted our entire second chapter of the 9 pillars of the metaverse to immersion and immersive technologies. It is a complex subject. This third chapter will deal with the next 3 pillars of the metaverse. These are social identity, privacy, and anonymity. For our purpose, the term social identity is synonymous with virtual identity. We will use these terms interchangeably. Again, please keep in mind that this video is part 3, chapter 1, of the 9 pillars of the metaverse series. Part 3, chapter 2 will be released soon, or has already been released, by the time you watch this video. At this point, we will begin with an overall discussion of privacy on the web, as it has been a subject of concern almost since the beginning of the internet era, and has caused great unease and turmoil. Back in 1999, Scott McNealy, co-founder of Sun Microsystems, was reported in Wired magazine's article, Sun on Privacy, to have told the world, in a short, almost dismissive manner, "You have zero privacy anyway. Get over it." Even then, almost 25 years ago, the issue of privacy on the burgeoning World Wide Web was a significant subject. One of the most fiercely debated subjects among the public and governments is the invasion of privacy that all technology companies have on our lives. From the giants such as Google, Facebook, and Amazon, the list goes on, to the small companies that pick up your email address for an innocuous newsletter, individual privacy has proven to be a myth. It is not only a subject debated or known only within the technology world. Journalists in the United States will hide behind the First Amendment, and in other countries they will claim freedom of the press to reveal the private lives of any individual they feel warranted. Though in journalism, one can argue the right of the public to know is greater than the individual privacy rights of a person. Tracking your every move, both online and where you travel, is straightforward and simple with all the electronic wizardry we wear or carry in our pockets. Technology has simply taken this a step further into the abyss. Online, it is used to target you with specific advertisements geared to your interests. The search terms you use, the sites you visit, and the time you spend on each page are all recorded. Even the length of time you spend watching a video on YouTube, Vimeo, or TikTok is tracked. Your spending habits are tracked, your expenses are tracked, and your credit rating is constantly reassessed. We revolt, rant, and author article after article about how awful this loss of privacy is. Yet we still scroll through Google, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and all the rest with obsession. Let us not forget email as well. Sure, no one reads your email. But don't for a moment think that AI systems are not looking at that text and categorizing it for AI analysis. Privacy is truly a misnomer. Paradoxically, we can find privacy in our daily lives as we interact with others. We choose what, when, how, why, and to whom we wish to reveal something. But that phone in our back pocket and that smartwatch on our hand know precisely where we are, and our heart rate, and they can intelligently guess the activity we are engaged in when we forget to tell it what we are doing. Of course, we think there are ways around this invasion of privacy. Many people will use pseudonyms online. A fake name will at least protect them from revealing their real identity. Correct? Not exactly. When the pseudonym purchases anything online, an actual credit card is used. The moment that happens, you are linked. Hooked up. Discovered. Real and virtual identities combined. Email. How many email accounts can you keep up to hide behind a pseudonym? It is exhausting, time-consuming, and in the end, pointless. The question is no longer about privacy. It is about the level of privacy you can legally maintain and personally expect to protect your identity. Companies like Taboola make hundreds of millions of dollars by tracking your movements online and hitting you with advertisements. Yet, the online pieces of your identity, those little electronic ones and zeros, are there for the offing if you have not dropped off the grid. And if you are one of those individuals who goes through every single permission and every single cookie tracking question, then all I can say is more power to you. If you have that kind of time on your hands, I am jealous. And to a large part, it still will not help you completely protect your privacy. No matter how much the companies guarantee your information will be controlled and never revealed, it is an impossible goal for them to achieve and remain profitable. Even if it is legislated into law, there is always another method to continue gathering all of your personal data. So, what is privacy in our era of big data and artificial intelligence? I have expectations of privacy, as long as I do not break any law according to the legal system where I live. I have an average expectation of privacy that when I give my email out to Nike, Adidas, or Amazon for their email list, they will not sell it to another company. I assumed that my name, age, place of residence, and all the rest will never be shared by a payment system. Remember that dating app where you hid behind a fake name and a profile that does not accurately define you? You may have even used photoshopped pictures from 20 years ago or just did not upload an image. Do you remember the part where you paid to use their services? And let us not forget about that nasty little IP address if you are not savvy enough to use a VPN all the time or play hoops over the world with your IP. Do you still think you can hide? Yes, you can use all the tricks in the book. VPNs, pseudonyms, fake identities, fake addresses, fake emails, all done to hide who is the actual individual behind the computer screen. That is one way around it. However, unless you are a criminal, terrorist, or master hacker, sooner or later, you will make that one purchase with your actual credit card backed by your real bank account. Poof. There goes all that work to hide who you really are. But it is so much work to protect our real identities from the very corporations we want to purchase items from or use their services. Think about it. You purchase something and pay for it, but the company you purchased from not only made a profit on what you bought, but they also can now mine your activity and information. Did you pay them to do that as well? The facts are, in 2022, your identity is traded on the internet every 2.5 minutes. You're flooded by ads every time you visit a website, small banners, big rollovers, annoying pop-ups, colorful ads, video ads, you name it. Websites, internet providers, and data harvesting companies, called data brokers, all save and analyze user online behavior, combine multiple sources, and build virtual profiles of you. They then sell the profile to advertisers who use it to bombard you with messages across websites, platforms, and devices. We live in an age of expected privacy, knowing full well this is a minimal definition of privacy that one would expect in their own homes. On the web, though, even that minimal privacy is no longer possible. In his book The Critic as Artist, published in 1891, Oscar Wilde wrote, "Man is least himself when he talks in his own person. Give him a mask, and he will tell you the truth." It is eerie how true that quote becomes in our era of virtual worlds and the metaverse. So, let us look at the individual with the mask, who is attempting to be anonymous, and find out what anonymity actually means. For this we will borrow the definition from dictionary.com, which gives the definition for anonymity as follows. Without any name acknowledged, as that of author or contributor, such as an anonymous letter to the editor, or an anonymous donation, or of unknown name, whose name is withheld, such as an anonymous author, pertains to lacking individuality, unique character, or distinction. In virtual worlds and the metaverse, we must also add one other term to our lexicon. That being pseudonym. In order to protect anonymity while traveling in a virtual world, the avatar requires a name. This name can be thought of as a pseudonym for the real identity of the individual. The connection between the avatar's name and the real identity of the individual behind the avatar is only known to that specific individual. Therefore, we can say, the pseudonym creates the social identity. The real identity remains hidden, and therefore the real individual behind the avatar is anonymous. We will give you a few seconds to study the image and the explanatory text, because it will become critical in understanding virtual and social identities in a few minutes. According to all we have discussed and defined until this point, we already know privacy on the web is virtually impossible. The question now becomes, is it possible to maintain anonymity on the web, or within virtual-based systems? To a certain extent, it is possible within a specific boundary of virtual world systems and the metaverse. If there were 10 commandments for the metaverse and virtual worlds, the first commandment would be, your real identity is absolutely secret. This is the cardinal rule of virtual worlds. It should never be broken, nor should there be any ability to break it within the system rules. As in all commandments, we will soon discover how difficult it is to maintain that commandment, and how and why corporations will do everything and anything to break it. As we have just explained, the cardinal rule of participating in a virtual world is that your real identity is never divulged to anyone within that system. Every aspect of your virtual existence flows from that rule. Funds are the Achilles heel in this structure, as they must come from real currencies, or now cryptocurrencies, which makes the process easier and harder. Those real currencies have a real identity attached to them. So in order to protect individual identity and anonymity, virtual worlds, including the metaverse, have adopted many methods of handling such a structure, especially when dealing with transferring funds in and out of the system. Before you say to yourself, wait a moment. I am in a virtual system, which works on cryptocurrency. So, none of this discussion about converting from real currency to the accepted currency within another type of virtual world applies to me. That may be true, but it is not as simple as you may think it is. Have a bit of patience while I present all the scenarios. You may be unpleasantly surprised, but at least you will be warned. Please remember that we are not discussing only privacy. When one argues that the technology giants have invaded our privacy by recording every move we make, it is not the same argument as saying we want to remain anonymous under a different identity, a pseudonym, in our virtual reality. This brings us to the end of the first chapter of Privacy, Anonymity, and Social Identity video. It is continued in Part 3, Chapter 2, which will discuss the anonymity wall, creating a virtual identity, and how the anonymity wall can be broken. Stay tuned for Part 3, Chapter 2. The 9 Pillars of the Metaverse video and podcast series was created by If What If, the company that combines virtual reality and artificial intelligence in education, consulting, courses, and development. Our motto: dream it, imagine it, create it. The possibilities are endless. You can find If What If on all the major social media networks or contact us at info@ifwhatif.com. This podcast is also available on most major podcast directories and on our YouTube and Vimeo channels in full-length video formats. Our videos, podcasts, and white papers are always free and bring you a wealth of information on artificial intelligence and virtual reality, including the metaverse. Don't forget to subscribe to the If What If channel on your favorite podcast directory or on YouTube and Vimeo. Please see the links in the description for all our social media channels and how to contact us. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and comment. It is greatly appreciated. Have an awesome day. If What If would like to thank all the metaverse, virtual world, and Second Life photographers involved in our projects. And to Poco, our resident virtual world and metaverse photographer, who scours the metaverse to find the most incredible images and with her exceptional talent, turns them into works of art. All her work can be found at www.flickr.com/people/poco9. Thanks for use of her images goes to master photographer, Violetta Rain. Thanks for use of their images go to 3 girls in SL, Fenny, Liz, and Leandra. Thanks for use of her images goes to Yennefer, involved in many RPG, virtual world, and photography projects. Thanks also goes to Inara Pei and Miru, Second Life photographers, who graciously allow reuse of their Flickr photos. Links to all our photographers are in the description attached to this video. All other photos are taken from pixabay.com or unsplash.com and are free to use for commercial purposes.